To see every new Chuck Norris movie. Most people are as fascinated as I am by these talented and skilled people. Now, Reading, Pennsylvania is a long way from Hollywood, but there's a man who lives in Reading by the name of George Dillman. He is indeed a real-life Bruce Lee. To introduce you this unique man, let's go to Reading, Pennsylvania, and George Dillman.
It's like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I have to totally leave what I call reality, and I become another person. I just go crazy. I go into a trance. I go into another world, and it's the same kind of trance you would have to get in if you were in a fight situation.
The knee is used defensively to block against kicks. Someone kicks at you, we use the leg to stop it, so we can counteract with a hand.
George Dillman, black belt karate expert. Attention exercise shows his students that the body can break unbreakable objects. And the body can bear unbearable pain.
There are 500 acupressure points in the body, or acupuncture points, that an acupuncturist can put needles. Well, when they put the needle this way, that might heal or soothe. But when I come in the other way, it causes damage, it causes pain. And with that, with the fingertips, I can actually knock people out.
Okay. Let me at him.
To be a student of George Dillman, as witness here, one must completely trust this black belt karate expert. In fact, Dillman contends that if a good boxer were to study under him, he'd be a world champion.
If I were to work with Jerry Cooney, he would beat Larry Holmes. If I would have worked with Thomas Hearns, he would have beat Marvelous Hagler. It's just that simple. He would have to believe me, he would have to trust me, and he would have to spend 2 months in a ring with me to get these points. And at that point, he could take anybody, and I could reverse boxing history.
The most dramatic aspect of a Dillman demonstration comes when he prepares to slice 2 watermelons in half with a razor-sharp sword while blindfolded.
I build a mental picture of everything that's going on out there, and then with the years of practice that I've had with that sword doing what we call kata, or forms, I know that the blade is going to be on target. I just have to get a mental picture of where the watermelons are.
Dillman and his students are world famous for their breaking skills. Dillman breaking as much as 1,200 pounds of ice with his bare elbow.
Breaking is a show portion of karate. We jump up and break wood, we break boards, the public likes to see it, but we only do that once or twice in a year. The real study of karate is this inner peace that you get.
Boy, I'll bet you Tommy...
Most educational class I had, because he taught me how to break properly. And ever since that time, I've studied breaking. I study breaking when I go and watch people break. And I'll tell you what I've seen over the years is people that do not know how to break properly, or I've seen people that actually fix material. I will not allow any of my students to do that in a demonstration. I have never done that in a demonstration. There are materials that I can tell you can be fixed. I can even tell you how they can be fixed. And I just will not allow that to happen. Everything we break, there's a right and a wrong way to do everything. I teach the students the right way to do breaking. You learn from there. You start on... Everything is not learned in this class today. You absorb as much as you can, and then the rest comes with your own experience. I'll tell you this, I've won breaking competition, and I don't say any of this tooting my own whistle, so to say, but I won braking competition all over the United States. Everywhere in the United States. I don't remember ever losing in braking competition once I started. I just kept going and broke more material and more material, and I'll explain how we get into that as we go along. But when you start with a brake, you get a basic brake that becomes yours. You never try to copy what someone else does. I've seen more people injured, even black belts, injured because of, number one, overconfidence. That's destroyed many a good fighter. Yes or no? Man goes in the ring, even boxing, he's a little overconfident, he's sure he's going to win that fight. Overconfidence is destructive. Overconfidence on a motorcycle. Somebody can ride a motorcycle. Motorcycle could be safe till he gets overconfident, makes a wrong turn without looking the right way, and bang. Same thing with braking, overconfidence. Just because a man is a brown or a black belt doesn't mean he can break what I can break. Or it doesn't mean that one black belt can break what the next black belt can break. One of the only times I see injuries to higher belts is from overconfidence. And or they see a person, like maybe your instructor, do a break at a tournament, and they go home and try to duplicate that. And they didn't know how he did that, or they didn't prepare the way he prepared for that. I can teach you how to break almost anything. I can teach you how to break some things that I don't necessarily break. I have students that do it. I taught them how. For instance, I have a student that was breaking balloons. Balloons. They're very difficult to break. They take a lot of practice. But you blow up balloons, and you float them, and you try to catch them with a back fist. And you try to get just onto the balloon with a touch of a twist. That improves not only your back fist, but it'll give cutability to your hand. You'll actually cut somebody then with that hand. You can snap a balloon. You blow up a balloon and you float it. That takes a lot of practice. I work with a student. He can do it almost any time he wants. Float the balloon, boom, boom, boom. Fast you float balloons, he can break them with a back fist. I don't do that because I don't work on that one. I showed him how. I can do that. But I taught him how to do that. I had a student out in Ohio, known all over that section for breaking Coca-Cola bottles. Coca-Cola bottles and beer bottles. Set him up, every tournament he'd come out and do breaks that would get a standing ovation. Look better than my breaking thousands of pounds of ice. He used to put his hand between two Coca-Cola bottles and cut them both in half. The bottles would go. I don't do that one. I taught him how. I can do that one. But you have to prepare for each break. You don't just do it. So overconfidence, and as you get higher in rank, thinking you can do something that even a green belt can do. I can teach a green belt how to do a fantastic break, and he works on it, works on it. Black belt go attempt that break, might injure himself. He didn't prepare for that break. He was overconfident because he thought he was a black belt. I've seen black belts injured that did breaks when they were younger. And they lay off 2-3 years, and they go, oh yes, we have a demonstration coming up. I'm going to break 6 cement blocks. I broke 6 cement blocks last year, so I'm going to break 6 cement blocks this year, or 2 years ago. You understand what I'm saying? So they try to break the cement blocks, and what happens? They injure a hand. Because for 2 years they laid off. Some of the most important parts of breaking, and I'll tell you this real quick, but I've seen people that have actually fixed their break, cheated. And those people have put more time into learning how to fix or cheat than I would put into you to train you how to do it right. I know a man who breaks huge stacks of bricks. Well, one time we slipped in a real brick. You understand? He wasn't breaking huge stacks of bricks. We were doing a show, and we didn't want this person in the middle of our show. And he brings out huge stacks. Anything that is out of the ordinary, I question it. The bricks are not baked. No one breaks a stack of American baked bricks. of Masoyama's book. You don't break American baked bricks. In Japan, they use clay ones. And they're all over there breaking tile, which are clay, and these clay bricks. And all of a sudden, he come over here and say, "Get me a brick." Somebody got him a brick. It's a baked American brick. You don't set those up and break them. They're very difficult to break. Not saying one cannot be broken, but I'm saying you're not going to break a stack of them. So I question things like that. I was at one tournament up in Madison Square Garden, and a man brought out a piece of wood that looked awful. Looked like it come off a ship that was 100 years old, like this thick, 4 inches thick, great big and mean and ugly. If he'd have broke one of those, I would have been impressed. I would have been impressed, and I would not have questioned it. But he broke 3 or 4 together, put 3 or 4 of these together. Now I questioned it. I picked up a piece of the material that he broke and took it to my local lumber yard. I asked him what it was. He told me it's sugar pine. It's 4 inches thick, special ordered, it's very expensive. The grain runs widthwise, and one that's 4 inches thick takes no more power to break than 1 or 2 of these. Yet it looks mean and ugly. It's called sugar pine. And the man would have impressed me because I wouldn't have questioned the wood. It looks like oak. It looks like a piece of hardwood. And if he brought this out and just broke one of those, I would have been impressed with his break, and then I would have walked off. But he broke too many, so I questioned it. Everybody understand that? Okay. We don't fix our brakes. We put as much into it. Now, when it comes to braking, what are you supposed to do, the student? What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to put everything you have into it. Isn't that what karate is all about? Karate is maximum power you can use, 3 times the speed, against the weakest spot of your opponent. So braking, we're going to teach you the weaker spot on the board or cement. It's the principles of karate. When people break stacks of things, they say, well, how does that fit into karate? Well, first of all, conditioning the hand is the part of karate. You need focus to get on the board. You need some concentration. And as we said earlier on my videotape, it's a show portion. We just did a demonstration at a mall in my city, in Reading, Pennsylvania, and we did a big demonstration. And the first show, we did not do any braking. However, I said that the second show, we're going to do all the braking. Second show was packed. The same people come back, and they brought people to see it. Second show was crowded because everyone wants to see karate people break things. For years, karate was identified that way. If you said you were in karate a couple years ago, 8, 10 years ago, they said, yeah, they're the people that run around breaking things. That's all they thought we did. They didn't realize that you're learning to use all your muscle properly, internal, external. Focus that punch. We only teach the breaking once or twice in a year, so you learn how to do it right, and then you can improve upon that. Now, you have 3 sets of muscles that make up the body. Everybody know that? You have 3 sets of muscles that make up the body. You have internal muscle, you have external muscle, you have dormant muscle. A cat, when it moves around, uses internal muscle. A dog, when it runs around, uses external muscle. That's why a dog looks clumsy as compared to a cat. Man has the ability to use both sets of muscles, internal and external. That's what we try to teach you in karate, so that you have the strength of the dog and yet the gracefulness of a cat. A cat can strike with 7 times the body pressure than a dog, because it snarls when it snaps out. Does everybody understand that? That's why the breathing and the breath control is so important in karate. Snarls as it comes out, so you are to use your ki-ai. You're to yell when you break. When you yell, you get the stomach involved. Everyone's stomach is like a balloon. You have a balloon stuffed with air. You hit it, it's going to break. We train you in karate to breathe out through the throat, push the air out, so you can hit harder, and that in turn activates the muscles that hold the stomach in place. And through years of study, it chain reacts up to the muscles that hold the lung in place, the heart in place, And another benefit karate is long life because of the deep breathing that we do. Because you develop from the inside out. Unlike a weightlifter that starts lifting weights and develops good external muscle. He moves like a dog. Most weightlifters then will be clumsy, have a hard time scratching their head even if the muscle gets too big. So in karate, we don't care about the external muscle, we want the internal muscle so that you're fast like the cat. But we have one more set of muscle, dormant muscle. Dormant muscle holds the bones together. There's only one dormant muscle that I can show you, and that lies on the side of your hand. This right here, everybody take your right hand, put it out in front of you, and hold this little knob muscle here, and do this. This is called a dormant muscle. It's the only one exterior that you can see on the outside. A karate person should condition that. It's one of the most important parts of making your break. I told you about confidence before. I'm also telling you that most people lack preparation. You've seen me do my ice break. 1,000 pounds of ice. If you were to set up the 1,000 pounds of ice right now, I wouldn't break it. Because I have not been preparing for that. My wife will tell you, my students will tell you, that if I know I'm going to do an ice break, I do like a pro fighter training for a pro fight. I go into training for 2 or 3 months, a month and a half at least before I'll go do it. I condition this elbow, and I keep working on this elbow till I can take one of these blocks and break it. If I can't break that block with my elbow, I am not going to break that ice with my elbow. But I prepare for that. I don't just run out here and smash into that ice. Do you know how many black belts have injured themselves duplicating my ice break? Several. One of them on national television. Dislocated his arm and broke bones in the arms 3 different places. Shattered that whole right arm, dove into that ice, and tried to duplicate my feat because George Dillman could do it. He could do it because he's a higher rank. He didn't have the weight to break that ice. It's poundage that matters. There's some of you right here in the room. I cannot get these little people to break what the big people can break because they don't have the weight to do that. Poundage is what matters, and we'll explain that as we go along. Poundage, proper position, angle, focus, and speed. But what I'm saying now is conditioning. The reason I made everyone bring wood is because wood will not injure the hand. No one has to worry about wood. And everybody in this room, is everybody listening to this? Everyone in this room can break one of these boards. Everyone. Or I wouldn't have you sitting there with a stack of wood in front of you. I didn't invite you here because you can't break wood. Conditioning is one of the most important parts, and preparation. You do not need as much preparation or any preparation to break wood. That's why I got you to bring wood. Wood is a conductor. Wood absorbs shock. It's like rubber in a way. I can hold it and I can hit one board and it absorbs the shock and I can feel the vibration. I can get you up and let you hit it with the side of the hand, and you're not going to injure your hand because the bones in the hand are like the fingers. And they'll do this. And you're not going to injure the hand. It'll sting if you don't make your break. And you can shake that off and go sit down and come back up a few minutes later and try your break again. Does everyone understand that? Proper preparation means that you should condition that dormant muscle. If you feel the muscle here on my hand, this is hard. It's solid. You do not have to beat your hands and deform them. That's old-time books where you used to see people beat trees and deform their knuckles and deform their hands. You do not have to do that to be a breaker. You have to know how much material you can break by your body weight and where and how to hit it. You have to toughen this up a little bit. If you're going to be a puncher, I don't have people in my breaking seminar, unless they're a higher belt that's done this before and wants to do punch breaks, I don't get you up as a new person and say, I want you to punch through this board. Why? Because you have not conditioned for that. Does everybody understand that? I would have told your instructor to have you all hit something for a couple of weeks before I come down here. The joint meets like this. I don't want you to take your fist and run it into wood or something that's going to injure you, and it could if you haven't conditioned. Higher belts condition. Once you get this dormant muscle hard, it only takes maybe once a month, maybe twice a month, I will beat and hit this with a chop. The reason I'm telling you this is so you can prepare for other breaking classes, or if you want to break more material and or go win a breaking championship. You're not going to win the breaking championship without training and conditioning. Learning to use the weight, putting everything you have into your moves like you do when you do your kata, that's part of your conditioning. Taking your hand and working on it gently. Just gently. And you should use cement to condition your hand, not wood. I keep one of these blocks at my house. I have several of them, and I just hit like so. And I would tell you people, you only need to do this 5 times with each hand in a week. After this muscle starts to harden up, you can just do it once in a month, once every 2-3 months to keep it hard. When you know you have a demonstration coming up and you're going to break, 2-3 weeks before your demonstration, you just do this once a day for maybe 4 days, lay off for 2 or 3, and just do this. This toughens this dormant muscle and prepares it. It lets it know that you're going to put it through something. When I'm going to break ice, I take and I hit this over, 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 and prepare that so that this arm and everything gets to know that I'm going to go do an ice break, and now it's ready to do it. It's been conditioned slowly but surely, and it knows and understands what's going to happen, and the next impact is not going to injure me. So what you got to do is just tap this. I don't care what belt rank you are. You can be the highest black belt in the world. If you haven't conditioned this, I can set up some cement and you'll injure yourself. That's what I was talking about earlier when I said I've seen black belts that have tried to duplicate other black belts' feats by not preparing. Everybody understand that? Dormant muscle, tighten it up, and you do this. And then you constantly get harder with it, so that it's ready now to set up whatever you want to break. I could probably break more material than anyone right here in the room because I keep this prepared. I'm just ready. Somebody sets that up, boom. In a trouble situation, this is what I would use to strike. This is now like a weapon. It's hard. It means business. Like my knife edge. It's called a knife hand for that reason. But that needs toughened. The dormant muscle should be worked on. That's your own responsibility. All you need is a brick at home. And you don't need to do it often. Once a week. Once this toughens up a little bit, once a month. Get to be a higher belt, maybe once every 2 or 3 months. You just work a little bit. You'll feel if it's softening up, then work it a little bit. And that'll toughen this muscle, the dormant muscle. So that's what I mean about preparation and preparing to do something. Black belts that have gone out and tried to do another one's feat. I might get someone that's conditioned his fist. And he can take this fist and hit. And hit. He's conditioned this, and now he's going to break a lot of wood. You think you can duplicate the feat. I'm a higher rank than him. Set up the wood, I'll do it. He's conditioned that. He has a little callus, tiny little nerves across the knuckle right here. Move. They move from slowly hitting there. Those of you that hit here and get a stinging sensation if you don't break, you have tiny little nerves here that will actually withdraw from you working on it gradually. And you don't have to pound anything as hard as I did to start. Just light. All you really have to do is this hard to toughen that up. That's all. Everybody understand? What do you do? condition. Slowly but surely, tighten that up a little bit. That's the most important part. Then, he takes and breaks something. Boom! I try to duplicate it. I'm going to injure myself. I didn't condition. Now, the two most important parts of braking that I say are, number one, conditioning, knowing your limitations and what you can break and how you can break it. Being in a class like this is where we start to find out. As we get into the braking portion, I will get you to raise your hand, and if you have any questions, I want you to ask them. Everybody understand that? Anything that comes to your mind. I'll explain a lot before we get to that. Because I don't want any question and answers now because of that. I will probably cover it. I stand here and talk, so be prepared to go to sleep. I stand here and talk for a good 40, 45 minutes to make sure you know what you're doing before you attempt, that it's proper. That's what's wrong. A lot of Christ schools, they just get you up here. Come on up here. Break that. Okay? Wham. If it doesn't break, what'd you do wrong? You didn't hit it hard enough. Hit it harder. Right? I can get a big truck driver. I can go out here and stop a truck right now and get him to sit up 6 boards. Come on in and break that. My laundry thing fell out of my gate. There's no static cling. Bounce. No static cling. Jeez, that's preparation. That's real preparation. I didn't even check my karate suit. They put it on. There's probably toilet paper hanging around here. Hey, better look in the mirror. Okay. Preparation for that. Two most important parts of braking. If you don't learn anything but the next thing I'm going to say, whether or not you condition, if you don't remember anything but the next thing I'm going to say, you're going to be a better braker. Because the next thing is probably the most important part. And the most important part of braking is your supports. Your supports and your foundation is the most important part. Does everybody understand that now? How that wood is being held. I see more people miss a braking competition because the support is weak. It rattles. It moves. It's wobbly. I take and set up a stack of wood. If this is a wobbly foundation and I have this whole stack of boards, it's going to be twice as difficult if my opponent, who has his stack right there, has his set up and his foundation is good and solid. Does everyone understand that? When it comes to handheld brakes, you, the person holding, are the foundation. Does everyone understand that? I am the foundation. You're going to get up and put your fist through this. I am now those cement blocks. If I stand here and allow this to happen, my man is not going to make his brake. The most important part of braking is the foundation. Yes or no? Yes. Remember that. Most important part. Second most important part is conditioning. Conditioning and be prepared to do that. Then from then on it's training. And you getting to know your brake. Foundation means if I'm holding for somebody and I'm a weak foundation, I might as well be those wobbly blocks. The person holding must be strong, locked. He's more important than the person doing the punching or the kicking. He's the foundation. I make my foundation when he holds for me look away so there's no chance of flinch. Everybody in this room, if I tell you to hold this and you're looking at it, you're going to have a tendency to want to do this. Move it. Not that much. I'm just showing. The person will go to punch and you'll want to do that because you know that wood's going to fly. So I make my foundation get in a karate stance so he's balanced. I make him put as much into the brake as I put into it. I make him cut off the air. He has to squeeze and do a san-chin type breathing and tighten up the stomach muscles and lock his arms. And then I make him look away and tuck his chin into his own shoulder. Then there is no chance of injury. I have seen people injured at tournaments, in breaking competition, and the person that got injured was the person holding. Does everyone understand? Person holding. He's like this, looking, wants to see the break. The only person in the room that shouldn't see the break is the person holding on a stand-up break. Everyone in this room, if we're going to do a stand-up break and I'm holding, everyone in the room should see the break, except the person holding, the foundation. He should be locked here, look away. Now there's no chance of him knowing when that break's going to take place. And the person breaking never goes up and just breaks, especially for show. Most of the time the audience misses it. If I set up a board and had it here and walked over and broke it, half of you would have missed it. Right now, half of you would have missed it, because you're looking around the room, get a little tired, and you would have missed it. I'd walk over, whang. But if I went over and go, 1, 2, no, I don't count like that, but this, just did this. You'll be there and it draws your attention. It draws you like this, and karate and the breaking is the show portion, and that brings out the show quality. It makes your audience do this. It baits them. And they're now ready for the break. So we never just go break something. If I have 3 things I'm going to break, we're in the spectrum filled with 17,000 people. You can't explain your break. But if I walk out on the floor and I went like this, and somebody's standing there holding boards, and I went like this, and then I went like this, and then I went like this, and then I went back and repeated it, and I went like this, everyone now would know what I was going to do. Now all I have to do is go do it, and they'll be sitting watching. If I ran out and did those 3 breaks, half of them would miss it. I'm liable to miss my breaks because I didn't take the time to focus. Got too fast. You got to show the audience what you're going to do. Does everyone understand that? So when you come up and I teach you how to break, you'll come up, position yourself. Regardless of how strong you are, you'll go. And on 3. If you want to go 4 or 5, I don't care. But by 3, you've got to have 1, 2, and on the 3rd one we break. That draws an audience in. It lets everyone here see it. Okay, now getting to the breaking itself. Several kinds of breaks that I explained. The primary one we're interested in is wood. Wood is a conductor. Absorbs shock. Cement breaks by vibration. I actually have a picture in my school of 4 cement blocks being broken, and it's breaking from the bottom up. Cement breaks from the other side coming at you. If I take a cement block and tap it, you hear a little ring? Vibrations going down and back. If I clang them together, hear the ring? All I have to do is get them hard enough that that vibration breaks the cement. Cement breaks by vibration. Wood, being a conductor, means I have to pass through it. I cannot do this to wood and break it. Maybe one board, because it's weak, it might go. And by the way, I say that because sometimes I'm going to set something up, and the board might fall in half. That don't mean that anything wrong with it. We just get another board and do it again, because the wood can be faulty. This board could have a crack that you don't see, and in there, and it's weaker than that board, and there's just no way you know. It has a crack in there, or a knot's wrong, and there's a little crack going down the middle, and I've set up boards like this and did this, and they've fallen in half. That's another reason. That brings to mind, by the way, let me tell you something. One of my first karate demonstrations, I had some students that were going to break. I do not allow my students to put their hands on the material. And I would like you not to do that when you come up here. If you're going to break this many boards, you come up here with this many boards, you set them up, you make sure that the foundation is strong, that that's proper, you make sure you're positioned right, and that you hit right, and your wood will go. You do not need to put your hands on it once it's set up. Understand? You just do this for position. You don't have to touch it. You don't have to come down and do this each time. You understand what I'm saying? Because what you can do, wood slips easy, you'll cause this to happen, and you'll cause them to slip a little bit, and then when you go to hit it, if one grain's going that way and one's going on a 45-degree angle, you're not going to make your break, or you're going to injure yourself. So once your wood's set up, you do not touch it for several reasons. That's one. The next is, suppose this does have a hairline crack. Suppose these are very weak. This is an educational class. What do I care? We'll give you 3 more boards and try it again. You never underestimate your wood. I told you that to begin this class. Never underestimate what you're going to break. You put the same amount into it or not. Your instructor got to know me well enough that he asked me after when the break, was that an easier ice break or not? Sometimes I've had that ice that just breaks easy. Sometimes it doesn't. But I can't think that it's going to break easy or I'm going to injure myself. The same impact has to be into every one of those breaks that I do, whether that's going to break easy or not. And the same with you. When you come up to hit your wood, you give it all you got, even if you know there's a hairline crack in that board. Everyone understand? Because if you underestimate and you think, well, that's going to go easy because it's cracked, and you just give it a light shot, you're going to injure yourself. That might not break. So that's why I don't allow people to put their hands on the wood. Suppose this does have a crack. My very first karate demonstration in Reading, Pennsylvania. I had some people set up and a crowd gathered. We were doing a demonstration, and one of my instructors is over there going to make a break. He sets up his stuff, and he goes like this. And he raises his hand, and it all fell down. I felt about this big. He felt about that big. Didn't you, Ralph? No. They're standing there, you tap it, and it falls down. That's why I don't allow my people to put the hands on in a demonstration. You understand that now? That was weak. It was just there. It was cracked already. This poor man didn't know that, because I don't allow a fix in mine. We do a show, we don't fix anything. Had he gone over and just got like this and plowed it all he had, he would have said to me later, that went easy, real easy. But the audience wouldn't have known. Now because he did this and it fell in half, the audience thought we fixed it, and no matter what I did for the rest of that demonstration, I couldn't convince that audience that we were for real. Now does everyone understand why I adopted that principle? I actually got that education right there. Never had I had that happen before. Never had I had that happen. But it was with cement that breaks how? By vibration. And go to a cement plant. They haul the cement around on a forklift. And one man just pulls the lever and lets some of them drop. When I go to buy my cement blocks, or I get my wood now, but when I'm putting wood in the car for a demo, I take each piece and give it a little twist. Give it a little twist. Little twist. Just to make sure with each piece, so I don't look like a fool in front of a crowd with 7 boards. I take my cement and I pull it and give it a little twist. Just to see it's okay. Because cement can have a hairline crack and you never know it. Never know it. It happened on the forklift. The forklift sets down, the crack goes up a few, vibration breaks it. That's how cement can be broken. You can have 4 cement blocks together, and the 3rd one can break, and not the other 4. It was a little weaker, and vibration broke it. If I were to set cement blocks up and hit it with a hammer, you would hear it ring, almost like a telephone ring if I do it quick enough. If I do it again, you'll hear a little sharper, louder ring. And the next time I do it, it'll break because it was the right vibration coming back through. Cement does not break from this direction. It breaks from that direction. The vibration will go down, and as it's coming back, be taking the blocks away. Where wood won't do that. Now, because cement breaks by vibration is why we put spacers between the blocks. Because the vibration goes down and comes back, the spacers stop the vibration from 4 cement blocks together coming back at my hand. If I take 4 cement blocks, no spacers, and smash them, the vibration will go like that, lightning quick, and they break, but I can injure my hand. I have seen black belts break bones, injure their hands by not knowing that. I have seen people injure themselves by hitting cement and not knowing that it was the speed of getting off that saves you. I have seen them plow down through cement and they made their break, but this is the way they broke. Their hand just laid there. Follow me? They just laid there. The vibration went down and came back up, and as the cement was breaking, goes right in and can break the bone in the hand or injure the dormant muscle. Because the vibration's doing that. If you don't get off it, it comes back. I have seen black belts that told me it didn't break, but boy, is my hand sore. You didn't get off it quick enough. If you hit it, this is what should be happening. If I have pictures that I usually show in my albums, not here, but I have pictures when I talk about breaking, and I have pictures of cement that I'm breaking like this, and my hands almost back up here as if I didn't make that break. My hands midway between the cement and me on the way back, and then I don't injure my hand. Does everyone follow me on that? Where wood, this is not the way to do it. This is not the way to do it. Wood, you've got to get through it. It's a conductor. It absorbs shock. You've got to get down through it, and wood breaks with the grain. So wood, you do not need spacers. When I see people put spacers in wood, they're defeating the purpose. They're making it harder in a way. Not a bad break if you take 6 of these and put them up wood spacers between. But what must you do then to break 6 of those with wood spacers between? You must pass through every one as if it was a single break all over again. You must keep the same amount of power and momentum coming down through all 6. Now get the picture. We have 6 of these on top of each other with wood spacers between. In other words, there's air in there. I must now pass through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I must break all 6 with the same power it took to only break 1, but I must keep the power going. I must have that power over that period. Rather than putting them all like this, and now I just got to impact into the middle of those, sandwich them, so to say. If we had this board and it was broken, my hand goes into it. This is what should happen to your wood. And your hand should be in the middle of that V, and that wood almost closes. You should get down through that wood. So those of you that hit, you should focus through and aim for the floor. Now, most people have heard that in their karate careers. You must think through it. Has everybody heard that? But only with wood. You didn't know that, did you? Not with cement. You can think through it, but you better not be hitting through cement or you're going to have some injuries. So that's some of the things that I have to tell you, the difference between wood and cement and glass. People always ask me about glass. Glass breaks with speed. I had an instructor that used to rip the top off of just light bulbs. Take a 75-watt light bulb, or 100-watt, and hit it with the fingertips and just rip the top off to show how fast he could move and the damage he could do with his fingertips. And he used to take a 75-watt light bulb and rip the top off and not cut himself. Now, you all know you have the power. Everybody knows if I give you a light bulb in one hand and a hammer in the other, no problem. Right? No problem. Tap it, bang. You know you have the power. With glass, you actually have to move so fast that the glass does not have a chance to cut you. You got to be back. The same as the cement, only faster, twice as fast. You got to return twice as fast, and you've all heard in your karate training that a punch should return twice as fast as it goes into target. You've all heard that, I'm sure. Well, that's what you have to do with glass. You have to be on back here as the glass shatters. So when we break glass or bottles, you got to hit it and come back. You do not follow through or the glass is going to cut you. You cannot follow through like that, like wood. Wood you must follow through. Cement you must get off of. The easiest break that I can tell you to do When I say foundation, and this is the reason I tell you this, we do a lot of demonstrations, my school. When my school goes out, we're, by the way, the Dillman Karate Institute. My school goes out, and we go in to do a demonstration. I go in immediately and look at the foundation, my supports. What's the most important part of the break? The foundation. That's why we picked this room with this good solid floor and not the room with the rug. The rug, even though it's only this thick, will absorb shock. I tried to break a baseball bat in 1965 in D.C. Stadium before 35,000 people. And I didn't really, at that point, take into consideration the foundation. I had 2 cement blocks like this, rather than flat like this. I hit the baseball bat, and these that stick up were going in the ground. I was driving the cement in the ground because we were on dirt. This is the days before AstroTurf. Kids probably don't know about dirt. Kids, they don't know. See, they used to play baseball on dirt.
9 people do.
Yes. So that was going in the ground. I corrected it by taking 2 of the 2-inch cement blocks and putting them underneath, now setting these on, and then put the baseball bat to make my break. But I didn't take in consideration that this was important. The floor. I go into a demonstration. We did one not too long ago for Boy Scouts, and we walked in, and it's a stage that wheels out. Audience is sitting here. I get on the stage, and I go like this. It moved. I went over and I told my people. I said to my black belt, how many cement blocks are you going to break? 5 or 6. I said, can you break 6? Yes. I said, you sure you can do 5 though? Well, yes. I said, fine, you're going to do 4. Because that stage is going to absorb the shock for at least 2 of those cement blocks. I went over to the people who were going to break 6 boards, and I put them down to 3 or 4 boards and had them do it more often. Rather than break 6 in one stack, break 2 here and 4 here, and use different types of breaks. It gives more show. And I cut the material down, and everyone made their break. I went into the Pontiac Silverdome. Pontiac Silverdome in Michigan. My wife was with me. How many people missed their break that night? Quite a few. We were in a boxing ring. A boxing ring with pad, cushion floor. I actually could go like this and spring like a trampoline. It had that much give. It's a boxing ring, dead center. They wanted me to break 1,200 pounds of ice in that boxing ring. I went up before the show. In fact, the night before. Because when I'm going to do the ice break, I pace like a wild cat. I get nuts. I go in another trance. You got to. That's why I wouldn't do that ice break here. I got to prepare, and then I got to get psychologically prepared. But I went out the night before. We went down to the boxing ring, and I crawled under the ring. Dead center in the ring is a huge steel post with a square mount on it in one spot. Another one here. The boxing ring had 4 in the corners, and if I remember right, like 3 going across dead center. 1 near the edge where I wanted it, and 1 here. I went under the thing, I found out where they are, I measured how far apart they were, and I said to the people that were helping me set up, the ice has to be 1 block on that pillar and 1 block on that pillar. It can be nowhere else in that ring. We went out the next day. The place is crowded. It was a master show. Person after person got up, even trying to break wood and cement. They were anywhere in that ring they felt like being. they just set up in the corners or where the audience was the greatest, and they were out there beating on stuff and not breaking it. I set up my ice break on my post, one shot, down the middle she went, and we got a standing ovation. But I would not have broke that ice. That's how important foundation is. I would not have broke that ice if I had just gone down, put it anywhere in that ring. Foundation is so important. What is the easiest break I could tell you to make? You want to know? Cement on cement on cement. I can take almost anyone here and get you a cement block to break. If we take you out here in the parking lot to a good, solid cement foundation, or a nice, solid cement walk, you have to know to get off of it, because cement creates what? Vibration. This cement will lock on other cement firm. More firm than here, because we'll always get a little rattle here that you always have to adjust for. But I can take the same block that's moving a little bit, set it out on the cement, and it locks in place. Cement, this is cement. This is cement. The floor is cement. A cement block, when hidden properly with vibration. You heard me do this. Hear that? Vibration. One of the reasons it's easy, because as I hit my cement block, the vibrations felt throughout the block. It actually goes into here and goes down and back, all within that much of a second. Faster than the speed of light. Cement on cement on cement, we can just crack them, because the vibration coming back this, the pillars actually are shooting this way while the vibration is doing this here. That's what makes it such an easy break. Now, one of the most difficult breaks that I've seen, and I'm going to just show you that. I go into karate schools and they do this kind of thing, and they tell people to, and we're cheating a little bit because we have a good, hard, I believe, cement floor. But I see people do this. Have you ever seen this? Did you ever see wood on wood on wood? I've seen people do it. They don't have a support blocks. And I've seen them, well, set this up and put wood and put it on wood. And then what's worse yet is they're on a wood floor. At my school, the floor is wood. And I can use this as an example, and not you. Look at it bouncing. See it bounce? Watch that. It bounces. It absorbs shock. If I got you out here, now we finally cracked one. But I think that was weak anyways. I think I saw a hairline crack in that. If I take wood on wood on wood and put 3 boards there, 4 boards there, the person that can come over here and put 6 boards across this and break it will not break it with wood on wood on wood. You understand now how important foundation is? If we're out somewhere, we got to do a breaking demonstration, and I don't have 2 of these, and I had to do that, which I've never had to do. I always make sure I have these. And you can always find these somewhere. You can always go right around the mall now, and there's probably 2 sitting somewhere. No, there's not. We got them here. But anyways, you understand how important that is. Wood on wood on wood. If you're going to do a break and you tell me, Sensei, I can break 6 boards. No, you can't break 6 boards. You can break 6 boards if we're on cement with cement, and now you can break 6 boards. You cannot break 6 boards wood on wood on wood. If anybody wants to try, we'll go in the next room where the rug is and we'll put money on it. You're not going to do it that way. It's going to bounce. Worse than that. So that's what I'm saying. Wood has to break with the grain. Has to. Break a baseball bat. Somebody want to bring a baseball bat to break to the seminar. I told your instructor, we break it, but I don't care. It's going to break that direction. Only on a foldy bat does it ever break off. How many baseball games you watch and it breaks off? They go that direction. Wood goes with the grain all the time. No one can break these against the grain. No one. With a sledgehammer and put the wrong way, this way, with the grain going this way, hit that with a sledgehammer and it's going to break this way. It will never break that way against the grain. So a baseball bat goes that way. Only a faulty one's going to break directly in half. After you start shattering it this way and weakening it, after a couple shots you can get through it or get it to break off. But it started breaking that way first. Little things mean a lot, and I was showing some wood earlier, and I look at wood. I can look at wood when I go out and watch somebody break, and I can tell. I have a little policy with my wife and some of my senior instructors, and when we go to a breaking demonstration or we watch something at a tournament and somebody's going to break, I usually tell them who is going to break and who is not going to break. Before they even attempt, I walk over and I say, that person's not going to break. That one is. Right, Sandy? How many times do we do that? We call it shots. All the time. I look at the person's foundation. I look at what he's attempting to break. I've asked some people a real stupid question. They'll set up 6 cement blocks, and I'll say to them, have you ever broke 6 before? No, but I broke 5, and I think I can do 6. Wrong. You don't think you can do 6 in front of a crowd. If you can do 5 at home, do 4 in front of a crowd. A little nervous. You'll withdraw a little bit, excitement. I look the way the wood's set up. And a lot of times I'm a judge, and I can't go over and say, excuse me, your wood's set up wrong. But it is. If I take 3 boards, and they're like this, with everything together, what's going to be more difficult to break? That or that? That little hollow pocket. See that little hollow pocket? I see that. Person sets up the wood. Everybody see the little bit of hollow? Oh, the boards have a little bit of a curvature to them. Somebody will just quick grab 6 boards, and this is what's in there. This board, this top board, will break, and those 2 won't. This board, if I set them down there on the pillars. Because my power or shock is absorbed there. I've created a hollow suction. You can lay your hand on the floor, on a block, leave a little hollow underneath, and pound it with a hammer. That's a trick you see people doing. They hit their hand with a hammer. They don't lay it down flat and pound it with a hammer. It'll hurt the bone. They leave that little hollow pocket there, and this is what they do. And they won't hurt their hand. So that little hollow pocket there, that's the point I was trying to make. That little hollow pocket is going to absorb the shock. Wood actually can bend a little before it breaks. People have asked me, well, how comes he has 6 boards and just the middle one broke? In this case, if this rounded one were between 2 flat ones, the middle one might break before the other 2 do, because it's rounded in there, and this is flat, creating this. But as I hit it, this give will force that one to break, because that's already rounded. Now, I have boards that are rounded. I run into that quite a bit. 5, 6 boards, and they're all like rounded. Do I round the rounded up or the rounded down? Somebody tell me. How many say up? Because I say down. How are you going to hit them? Down. They're started for you. It's down like that. Rounded down. Rounded up creates a little keystone up there. That's why they put a keystone and archway. So the wood's rounded up. It takes more pressure to get through it that way than if the wood's already the way you want to hit it. How do I want to hit my wood? I want to hit my wood that direction. So I don't want to round it towards me. I want to get all the rounds down so that it's that way, and now I just bang and through we go. Boards, and I will show you a couple examples. I kept these two for this. You're going to have to look closely, but on this board, I have the grain marked. I actually had one worse than this. Yeah, this is the one I want. It's better yet. These two boards, one will break with about half the power of the other because of the way the grain goes. Can you see the grain or not? This one, the grain is straight through. It's just straight up and down. This one, the grain runs in large C-type curvature. I'm going to pass around and show that to you. You see this? This one, see how the grain just goes straight up and down? Yes? You see the grain in this one? That's why I kept that. This board's going to take twice as much to break as that one because the grain's already there. Bang, it just goes through. Where this one, look at the way the grain goes. And the wood breaks with the grain. Does everybody understand? This one, the grain's straight up and down. See the grain here? That's why I found these boards over there. This board will probably break here and here. That's why that's happened to wood. This one, the grain, see where the grain goes? I marked it, but it's just straight through. See the grain in this one? Very colorful. That's why I kept this board. This, look at this. The board is going to break that way. The grain's going like that. This one, this grain's just straight through, see? Some curvature here. Everyone see that? This one, the grain's just straight up and down. Straight through. Board would almost break in half with your hand. But see the grain in this one? That's why I kept it. Very colorful. It goes like this. It goes lengthwise. Right, see the grain in this one? See how that goes straight through? See the grain goes straight up and down? See the grain like this? I look at that. Grain goes this way, and here the grain goes straight up and down. I look at that in a breaking competition. It's not important for you people to come up and break one board or two boards. That's not important. We're talking a breaking competition, and I have your instructor going to outbreak me. And he's got half the building over here, and I got half over here. We're going to tear these buildings apart. And I look over his wood, and he's got a few of these hollow pockets maybe in them. You see? And I don't. This one makes a difference. This is what's going to make you a champ or not a champ. Or he has a lot of wood with this, and has 6 of these together, and I got 6 of these. Who's going to make the break? You. That's right. And that's not fixing it, that's just knowing your material. That's just knowing whether it's going to take more impact. I don't even switch, by the way. I'm just telling you right now, when I set up 6 boards, I don't look for the grains to be that way. I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you that I do step back from my 6 boards, though, and look at all 6 grains. I really worry that they're all touching each other this way. Now, these 2 boards I wouldn't even put together because of this. It's rocking like a rocking horse, and if I put it this way, I have a hollow pocket. So I wouldn't even put them together. I would put 6 boards like this together that are nice, and they're together. No real hollow pocket. Or if I do see a little hollow pocket, or I do see a weird grain, I know I better hit it harder. I know the minute I see my setup, I always step back and look at my grain, and then I come up and I know how much I have to adjust to make my break. Does everyone understand that? I kept this stack. The grain is so circular, I almost recreated, it's almost recreated a tree. You see? Everybody see that, how round? See how round? Close the camera in on that. All the grain is all circular, and those being together almost recreated a tree. You see it? Yeah. It's going to make a very difficult break. I could do it, but I better know what I got on my hands. Everybody see? They were just over there in the stack, and I saw them that way, and I pointed out to Judy. I said, Judy, look at that. Looks like a tree almost around. Look at all those swirling. So now if I'm the kind of person that can break as many boards we have here, what do we have? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 boards. I know people that I go out and they tell me they can break 9 boards. Well, fine, I want you to break these 9. Right? Break these 9, and I have a different 9 I have in mind. My 9 will have the grain going this way. So it's knowing your material and knowing where to hit. That's important. And knowing that your foundation is good and solid, and knowing whether you can make the break. By knowing that, it gives you the confidence that when you go up to make your break, when I go to make my break, I have the confidence that I can make my break in a breaking demonstration because I know whether it's cement or wood, glass or ice, I know what it takes. I know that my foundation is firm and solid. That's my responsibility. Wood breaks through. Cement off. Got to get off it. When you break wood, where do we want to hit it? Here we have a board. Wood or cement, really. Where do we want to hit it? Somebody tell me. Here, you come over here. Come here. This is the board. Put an X. Put an X where your hand should hit. Big X marks the spot. That's great. I love that. Thank you. My perfect example. Okay. Anybody have that? X marks the spot. How many think that's where we should hit it? Huh? Because you know my answers, I always go wrong. No matter what anybody studied, they go wrong. That's just my attitude. No. Actually, hitting it here takes almost twice the amount of power as hitting it close to the edge. Okay? Because as I hit that board, I have to create impact power to go 2 ways, right or wrong. Right or wrong? Yes. Where here, once I hit, I started my impact power, and it will just slice right through the board for me. I can teach you how to do that and double the amount of wood that anybody breaks. If I watch a guy breaking 4 boards, hitting there, I can up him to 6 boards by doing that. And then, when I have people, knowing my foundation, when I have people that set up, let's say we had, this is just the right size. That's why I want the boards cut this way. It's the right size to fit on here. Let's say this were a 10 or 12 inch block. Okay? The wood's out here. I want the long wood to stick out this side. You follow me? I have a 12 inch board. I don't want it an inch overlap in here and an inch overlap in here. And if I have a stack of wider boards than this, and I have to create power going 2 ways, and I have overlap here with no foundation, and overlap here, I must use sheer strength to get my hand all the way through or she's not going to break. Where if I had the same stack of boards, now we're talking a board that's wider than this. I have the same stack of boards, this end is firm. It doesn't matter what's happening out here, because once I hit here, it goes that way. Does everyone understand that? I see people that show up with wood fixed, cement fixed. People spend more time fixing the material, you know, than they do to understand how to break it. You want to break 4 boards and you break them right, you learn how. I see people show up at breaking things with 6 boards, and I know it's fixed. The judges know it's fixed. You look at it, you know it's fixed. People show up with the boards. This is a great one. They tape them together. Tape them together. That's because they only have this one and that one that they're going to break. All the rest are probably broke in the middle. And there are ways that you can fix it. I'm just telling you right now. They sit at home and tap them with screwdrivers. Take a screwdriver and sit at home and start a 1/4 of an inch in and tap the screwdriver all the way across each board. Just don't do it out here so the judges can't see it. You understand what I'm saying? I go, when I judge a breaking competition, I go over and pick up something, and I can tell if there was a screwdriver or a saw or anything touched that wood in there. Because the indents. I can pick that up and I just look at it and say, huh, he fixed his wood. I used to know one man used to show up with 2-inch cement blocks, and he used to sit at home, he used to pre-break them, put them back together, they looked nice, and his wife used to bake them in the oven with ceramic on top. This is the trouble he used to go to try to win a breaking competition. So all he had to do was crack the little ceramics. And it was hard to detect. I can take a screwdriver and go 3/4 of the way through this board, only from here to there, not really here, put 6 of them like that, with my top one down and my bottom one this way, tape them together. That's the first thing I look for if a guy comes in with his boards taped together. Tells me he tapes them together so they don't slip off. No, he usually has a fix going. If he knew how to break them, he don't need to tape them together. He tapes them together, they're already 3/4 of the way through. He just needs a little shot, and it looks like he broke 6 boards. I go right over, if I'm a judge, and I judge a lot of breaking competition, and I pick it up, if I see a screwdriver mark, I go tell the other judges before we score. That's how I feel about that. So people spend more time fixing it than they do learning how to do this. I put the X was on the center. Now I'm going to try this, and if it doesn't work, we're going to do it again, because this could be a faulty board. I don't know. But I usually give it a shot, a decent shot, where that X is, dead center. And then I turn it over, and we take it where that X is, and I'll show you how easy it breaks. Now, sometimes this works, and sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't work, we're going to do it again for the camera. But I just give it a decent shot to dent. This should dent that board. That was a good one. Do I see the dent? That was a decent shot. Little dent in the wood. Same board. The difference is, hitting it in the center, I had to create power going 2 ways. Hitting it out here, whoop, it wasn't supposed to do that. Hitting it out here, we're going to cut that out of the tape. Hitting it out here, it wasn't firm. It should be firm right here is where it should be firm. That board ain't going anywhere. Uh-oh, we're in trouble, Jim. That board ain't going anywhere. There you go. The board broke. Anyways, usually that works at a breaking class. When we hit here, we usually get a bunch of hits. And you see, by the way, how the wood bounces because I'm using wood. Wood on wood, it's harder to break. That's why I'm giving it a good shot. I'm wood on wood. And that's what we got wrong. It's rocking. You know, I got to have it firm here and here is where she got to be firm for that break. And then she breaks it with a tap out on the edge. That's the difference because you only need the power to go one way. It's the same trick to ripping a telephone book in half. No one just grabs a book and rips it. They either break the back, the binding, the hard part, and continue the motion, or they start with the pages and they really start ripping one page. And go from one, they fold it out so they go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that they fold it out so they're not ripping a phone book in half, they're starting at one page and continuing the motion. Same thing is true here. If you hit in the middle, you have to create enough power to go both ways. If you hit out here, you only need the power to go one direction, and once you've started, it goes. The only problem with that is, You have to know how to stand and how to set up, and you also have to know that you cannot be too close to the edge because you can cut your hand. You don't want to be there. You want to be back far enough that the entire dormant muscle that we told you about is on your board, but you're not dead center. Everyone understand that? You want to be right here, and that's where you want your break. When you position yourself, I see so many people going to attempt to break like this. That's difficult because I'm coming from this side over to center. If I wanted to break with that kind of a knife hand, I should be to this side of it, that my shoulder and that board are aligned. I shouldn't be dead center on my wood. So many people do that. They come up, they stand dead center on the wood, their hands really coming from a 45 traveling this way, where I really want my hand coming straight down and my shoulder in line with it. When I'm standing making a break, so many people stand directly behind their wood, whether it's with a punch or a chop, and they can get a much finer break if they take their left foot and put it beside this block like that. That puts this shoulder and this hand straight over the wood. Does everyone see that? This is what's making the break. This is what wants to hit down. I should not be here traveling a 45-degree angle that way to break wood that's there. I should be here, and I should be shooting straight down. Okay, at this point now, do you have any questions? Any questions?
Yes. You haven't talked about ice yet, how you break ice.
Okay, we'll get into that at the end because I'm not really worried about you breaking ice. We'll get those questions at the end. Yeah, really what I'm going to teach you to break is wood and cement and maybe some soda bottles if people are going to do that, and we'll explain that. And then as we get into it, later on ask any of those kind of questions. Because I will answer them. It's just the fact that it doesn't pertain to this. What I want questions on now is any minute you're going to come up and start breaking your wood. And I'm going to correct you. What I will have you do, 5 people will get up and set up their boards here, 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 and here. Myself and the people I brought with me will check that they're set up right. And one at a time you'll make your break. We'll start here. Then we'll go to here, then to here, then to here, then to here. And I will watch the break and correct you. That's what a lot of people don't do in breaking class. A lot of schools I know say, well, you have to break X amount of boards for your blue belt or your green belt. And the guy breaks the boards, but no one corrected him. If someone had told him, well, yes, you broke the boards, but this is the way you'll learn to break more boards, he would get better at what he's doing. He wouldn't just keep breaking that same wood the wrong way. So when I see you break, even though you make a break, I will say things like, yes, you made the break. You had the power to break. Man, let's say you broke 2 boards. I will tell you, boy, you had the power right there to break 4 boards. 4 would have went just as easy, but I don't want to see you fall through it, or I want to see you get back faster, or I want to see your feet a little wider. I will actually correct you after you made the break. That's what I try to do when I run a breaking seminar. So you might have broke 2 boards, but if I leave you go at that, that's all you'll break. I want to get you up breaking 3, 4, 5. I will correct it and tell you how. Question?
When doing the break, do you strike the same part of the board, whether the board's horizontal or vertical? Meaning if you were holding it here and somebody's punching it.
Okay, very good question. No. He asked about my striking method. I strike it here, only when that portion is solid on my foundation. Good and solid. Now I can strike it out there. It's going to, it ain't going to break. Well, we got some good wood. We have a problem here today. Anyways, I only strike it out here when this is solid, on there. If this is not solid, then I go to here. If I do have wood that's this wide, I got to hit it dead center. If someone's holding, my foundation is where? Here. Foundation's the most important part of breaking. So then if somebody's holding, you must do dead center. You do not hit out on the edge of the wood if someone's holding. Does everyone understand that? You've got to go dead center. Another question. How many people have ever seen people do a flying sidekick break? I don't change it. I don't change it because there's several ways that people make the break. If you watch the tape, my son did one, and he still breaks with the grain going this way, sideways. What I see happen a lot, especially at demonstrations at tournaments, is they get several people up to hold. They run into a flying sidekick. Have you ever seen this? And their foot gets caught up in there. They go through the wood, and their foot gets caught up in there. You two stand up. Hold this board the way you would for a flying sidekick. That's it, and you hold there. What happens is the man does the flying sidekick. They don't let go because they got to hold and they got to look away. The man runs, does a flying sidekick, the foot goes through, and this is what happens. His foot's in there and he falls down. Fall down, go boom. That's one thing I've seen happen. The next thing I've seen happen is bloody ankles. A lot of bloody ankles at tournaments and demonstrations because this cuts. He goes through, this is a sharp edge now, and he's shoving his foot and his ankle's rubbing this. Everyone understand? He shoves the foot through. They're holding and they're tight and they're looking away. They don't know when the break's coming. Wham! And this guy tries to get his foot back so he don't fall down, which is a natural reaction. And this is what cuts his foot, coming towards these sharp edges. Now, my son still does the flying sidekick with the grain going this way. So I'm not saying that's wrong. But he adds enough impact. He's been doing it so long that he actually, every now and then he'll fall down. But he usually doesn't. 99 times out of 100, he hits it with enough impact that he breaks it and the foot's back. In other words, he puts the foot into the wood and withdraws the foot and lands. Does everyone understand what I'm saying? Where most people, they do that, they shove that foot through, and this is where they cut their ankles. So for that kind of a person, I tell the people to just put the wood this way. Move your hand over here. You be over there. And all it takes is a slight turn to the foot. It only takes practice, but what are you supposed to do before you do something for the public anyways? Practice, condition. This is the way I made my flying sidekick when I did this and I was younger, and the way I would do it now if you wanted a flying sidekick. I go through because the heel is what needs to do the break. You don't need the knife edge as such, and the foot just needs to cock a little bit down, and that the heel breaks, and I get clear passage to the floor, and I never fell doing a flying sidekick because that's the way I did it. Does everyone understand that? Even with a crossover. I see people that are going to do a crossover kick, or a stand kick. The wood that way means that my heel will break, my foot goes right down to the floor, clear passage, and I look great. If I set this up like that, and I take one board, and I break it like that, and I come right down perfect balance, and you went, and you were next up, and you had it this way, and you went like this, and your foot was in there, and you were going to fall, even though it was only one board, I would outscore you in the breaking competition. Just that little difference in the way they held. You know it's going to break with the grain, so if you hold it that way, that's fine now if you can get your foot back out fast enough. Because my son still does it that way. You have to know how you're going to break and whether you can do it. But if somebody here does a flying sidekick, or you have been doing one, and the foot's been getting caught up, now practice with it the other way. All it takes is practice. Might not do it the first time, because you've been used to it this way. Turn it this way, and you'll see how nice the flying sidekick looks, because the foot goes through and comes right to the floor. Clear passage and no cuts on the ankles. Does that make sense? Makes a lot of sense. It takes practice. If anybody's been practicing with it lengthwise, they tell me no. My son's been doing it with it the other way since he's been 8 years old. He's 20-some years old, so no way now does he want to turn it the way I do it. But however, he has been doing it enough times that he gets that foot in and back, and he really lands perfect. But once or twice he has fallen, right, Ron? You've been out to shows. Every now and then he will over-shove through and cut his ankle or fall, which makes the demonstration look a little, not shaky, but it doesn't look as nice. Okay. Anybody else have a question?
The different hand strikes. Which way do you hold it?
Okay. Stand up at that same board. Only one person needs to hold it together. Always the two knuckles have to be with the grain. Always. If you do it this way, it's harder to break than this way. Everybody, because you know the wood's going to break like that. These two knuckles are going to do the breaking, so that's what you want to happen. If you do this, if you punch it this way, you can break. One board here, anybody can break. Everybody except me with another board. Anybody here can break one board. But if I hit this way, the fist is this wide, and it has to break that narrow surface. Now, is it going to be easier with the fist this way or turning the fist like that? The fist like that. So even when I break cement or wood, this is set up. I strike with my hand this way, vertical to the grain, because I know the narrower surface, the easier it is going to break. That brings to mind another question. The wider my material, the easier it is to break. The cement blocks that you have are 2 inches by 8 inches by 16 inches. They make one that's 2 inches by 8 inches by 18 inches. The 18-inch block breaks with about half the power as the 16-inch block because of the length this way. If these boards still had the grain going this way and were this wide, they would break real easy. Then we'd be able to break more of them. Because what you should try to do is be solid on your foundation, on the edges here. Solid on these foundations. But not take up a lot of room. What's going to be harder? Breaking that like that, or now trying to break it? That's going to be very difficult. Well, that's the same reason I give for, is it going to be more difficult to break with the fist like that, or the fist this way? I still now have a chance, you can even listen. I still have a chance of breaking those with my knuckles. With it that narrow, I don't have a chance this way at all. It's going to hurt, because my fist is almost as wide as that opening. So you want the fist to be with the grain. You want this to be as far apart as possible, but yet still on firm foundation. Don't go so far that you give up that foundation for that. When I have people hold for a break, this is most important because you're learning that as well as you are breaking. If I want John to break and I want you to hold, I have seen this. John's on this side of the board. John's ready to punch. This guy's standing there giving all he got for John. Come on, John, give all you got. John don't know that on this side, this is what's happening. You see what I mean? You see my thumbs? I have seen that in karate tournaments. The man holding doesn't think he's trying to do a good job. His instructor says, hold the wood. Yes, sensei. Hold it tight now. You can't move. Yes, sensei. I got the wood. Anybody want to try to break this with my thumbs in there? Because I'm supporting it to there. You're only breaking a board that wide. I have seen that more than not at tournaments. Because the black belt usually gets his white or green belts to hold it. Here, hold this. I said hold it tight. And don't move till I break it. Okay. He's doing this with a whole stack of wood, and this poor guy's on the other side beating his hand, or can't make the break. I used to have some people in my school do flying up-through kicks, or suspended kicks. And one didn't make his break one time, and it's because the other guy, he's, come on, break it. This is what was going on the other side. Same type of thing. Follow me? That's why I told you foundation's #1 important. If that's all you remember today, that foundation and that the floor, you've learned a lot about braking. Because when you hold the wood for somebody, you're to hold it as firm, but take up as little room. You are these cement blocks. If you're going to hold for John, you are those 2 pillars. John has to rely on you. You have to hold it as firm as you can, but stay as close to the edge as you can for John. Does everyone understand that? You're going to hold it, you just get on it enough that you're tight, but you're going to stay and leave as much space here, or you will not make the brake. If you have the thumbs over like that, or the hands like this, I have seen people on up-through kicks not make their brake on 1 and 2 boards, and they get 2 people holding, one on a chair here and one on a chair here, and down on the floor the instructor's looking, and all he sees is those thumbs back because they don't want the thumbs kicked. They usually don't do this because the thumbs are going to get kicked. And they're holding, and if I'm holding this wood like this, and another man's holding here like this, anybody think you're going to break that wood? But yet the instructor's here looking at that board saying, yeah, it looks good to me, let's clear away. On the other side of the wood, it's being supported by fingers and hands on both sides because he has too many people up there holding that wood for him. Sometimes they get... That lets me use that. One other thing I'll tell you, because this is for looks. You know, I see a picture in a karate magazine and I see somebody breaking a board. I see somebody breaking a board like this. I immediately know when I look at that picture. A picture tells 1,000 words. It's an easy break. But he can be breaking white pine, which this is, be in a karate magazine,